We like to talk a lot about stabilizing our spine through the big three, things like that. But after we have the actual injured segments stabilized and healing, we also need to build that mobility back in. So we use segmental cat-cows to build mobility in our spines. Typically, we hurt ourselves when we move in a way that our bodies aren't prepared for. So making sure that lumbar spine specifically moves well in flexion and extension, super important to keep it healthy and safe and moving the way we would like. I'm going to have Andy here, hands and knees. So when we think about a cat-cow in general, I always like to start with just 2 to 3 regular cat-cows just to kind of get that feeling of moving our spines. So what I'm going to have Andy do is drop as far down as possible, just all of it, all at once, all the way down into full, this is extension, and then push all the way up into full flexion. And what we look for, at least what I look for when I see this, is where there are any flat spots and where there are any hypermobile spots. And then drop back down. And all we're really trying to do in that, as you can see through extension, is much more even through lumbar spine, but gets a little sticky through thoracics. And what you might notice is that it's the exact opposite of what was in flexion, is we're a little hypermobile and a little hypomobile. So less mobile, more mobile, and then the reverse when we go the other way. The important part here when we actually get into trying to train this, what we're trying to do is move one segment at a time. In our spine, we have 24 movable pieces from your pelvis to your skull. What we are going to try to do is move each individual piece as far as possible before moving on to the next one. So we're going to try to move the pelvis as far as we can, and then L5 as far as we can, and then L4 as far as we can, and then L3, 2, and T12, T11. I'd skipped L1 for some reason, but anyway, all the way up until we're looking up at the sky. And then what we do is we start again from the pelvis. We hold all of this in extension and we start moving here as segmentally as we can, one piece at a time until we're all the way into full flexion again. One of the really cool things about this exercise in specific is we can make it as hard or as easy as we want by increasing our body's internal tension. When we start, we always make it as easy as possible, just trying to move one piece at a time. As we get better at it, we can turn this into a legit strength training exercise segmentally. The way we go about that is we think about the percentage of effort we're putting into holding on to things. Typically, we start with something like 80%. And what we're going to do is we're going to push all the way up into flexion. So he's going to take his whole spine all the way up into fully flexed. He's going to think about every single piece of his spine from L4 or the lowest we can up, and he's going to hold that with 80% of his max effort, whatever that feels like. As he's holding that, he's going to try to pull away or into extension with this very lowest piece. And so he has to use a lot of effort to hold all of this up while he tips one segment down. When he is fully extended through that one piece, he just moves it up. And so he's trying to hold all of this with about 80% tension and move down as best he can into extension. And again, it's the exact same thing. It is just the effort and the intention, the intensity that we put into each one of these tiny little movements that makes this significantly harder and really beneficial for getting the movement into your spine the way that we need it. Really increasing the resilience, the strength in each of those tiny little pieces. And for Andy specifically, as we get here, and you're going to have your own pieces, everybody's going to be a little different. He did really good through extending his lumbar spine. What you probably noticed is this chunk of him kind of moved all at once. And that just means we would want to slow down as much as we could while we were holding this in flexion and really try to focus those little pieces of extension through that piece. Now, it's going to reverse here. Keep yourself in extension. When he comes through and tries to flex his lumbar spine, we're going to have the exact same problem, but going the other direction. So he's going to try to hold all of this in extension while he tries to flex just right here. And that was really good. But we're just going to slowly move it up. Again, we're holding with about 80% intensity for this example, everything above the piece he's trying to move. Click like that. And that was much, much better than what we did going into extension here. That was actually really, really good. Yep, and we just work it all the way up. Nice. And that is a segmental cat-cow. Oh, yeah. Make you sweat for real.
Yeah.
Spine mobility, it's important. Move your spine.